Patriots at the Bills. Saturday night on CBS. The Bills are favored by 4 with an over-under of 44. We will not be getting 70 mile per hour wind, Pete, but it is expected to be cold and pretty nasty in Buffalo.
Believe me, first thing I did when this game was decided to be on, I looked at the wind. I hate wind. I hate it. It ruins football. I hate it. That's cold, not so much. Wind ruins it. This isn't going to be ruined by this. This was a tough game for me because of the Patriots and how they play. Here's what I came down to for me. The Patriots always take away what you do best. You can't take away Josh Allen. He does too many things. He can run. He can get outside. They play man outside. He's going to turn. They're going to turn it back. He's going to turn them into running plays and turn them into big plays. I think Buffalo will handle them. And here's the other thing. Mac Jones, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the road. He hasn't been the same player on the road. The run defense has been better since that debacle in the wind. I think they're going to play much better in this one. I'll take Buffalo minus the points.
I was leaning to Buffalo as well. Their defense hasn't fallen apart after losing Trey White, and this isn't a matchup where he'd be critical to the success either, where you need to take away top receivers. I worry about the pass offenses in the extreme cold, making it harder to catch the ball if people can't keep their hands warm. What do you think about that, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's bitter cold, yeah, you can have trouble catching the ball. But I think the way these gloves are nowadays, I mean, my God, they stick to them. You know, so it's not nearly as it used to be.
Did you see what Diggs said? He said Josh Allen needs to start taking some zip off the ball when it gets cold because it's too hard to catch the passes.
I mean, one thing about his short passes, when he throws those short passes in the cold, I wouldn't want to be catching that.
Oh, God.
Catching with my teeth.
I saw a friend of the program and great football mind, Mina Kimes, had a tweet. It was like, what's your weirdest or what's your most bizarre take that you believe is real? And she's like, the Bills need to build a dome so they can unlock Josh Allen. And because, the argument generally is that, Josh Allen is an advantage for Buffalo because, he can throw through the wind. But I think she might be onto something with the idea that, if he wasn't having to throw in the wind, it's not an advantage for, if Josh Allen is, the throwing through the wind is great, but it would be even better if he didn't have to throw through the wind. RJ, as a Bills fan, do you want dome Josh Allen or non-dome Josh Allen?
I think having the dome takes away something about playing football in Buffalo, but
sure.
I don't have to go to those games, so that's easy for me to say. But I'm sure the players would appreciate it, being able to play in a dome and not have to play outside. So Pete talked about taking away what Buffalo does best, and everybody would assume that is the passing game we're talking about now. Buffalo's rushed offense has 403 yards in their last 2 games, and Devin Singletary's really stepped up in the last few weeks. So with them better running the ball and defending the run than New England, and Josh Allen being better than Mac Jones, and Isaiah Wynn didn't practice at the beginning of the week, I think it's really like, does New England pass defense and their coaching make up the difference that Buffalo has the edge, I think, everywhere else? And I would lean no. That's why I'm leaning to Buffalo -4, like Pete. Even with Allen struggling at times, Buffalo has 27-plus points in every non-win game since Week 12, throwing out that New England game. So I think it ends up something like 24-17 to me, and the Bills win. My best bet is Mac Jones under 201.5 passing yards. Buffalo's defense is number 1 in pass yards allowed to quarterbacks by nearly 400 yards. There's no one really close to them. And Mac had just 140 yards on 14 of 32 passing in that non-win game. So we get something similar here. He's going to come in well under. And like I said earlier, the extreme cold conditions make me think the running is going to be more of a priority and drops are more likely, because even with the good gloves, single-digit weather in Buffalo does not sound like a fun time for these receivers. So I would go Mac Jones under 201.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I like that one, RJ.
Yeah. The only downside would be is if Buffalo builds a lead and they're forced to chuck it around, but even then he might not get there, turnovers and whatnot. I saw somebody had a galaxy brain hot take that was like, if Mac Jones struggles, should we see Brian Hoyer against Buffalo? I mean, no, right?
What?
Yeah, I don't
no.
Okay, just making sure.
No.
Yeah, and you can see with RJ on that number, 201.5, the under juiced to -135. I would bet that number keeps ticking down. Pretty low number for Josh Allen too, 241.5. That is extremely low for a quarterback of his talents with those receivers, even against.
What's his rushing number?
Debo all over it. Josh Allen. They don't have Josh Allen's rushing yards. They have Mac Jones rushing yards. It may be because
they don't have everything up yet. I don't think. With the Buffalo offense,
that's weird that they wouldn't have. I mean, what are they waiting on? Like Zach Moss?
I don't know.
I actually think I was looking at this. We'll talk about it a little bit, but most rushing yards wild card weekend. Devin Singletary, 12-1. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I think that's an interesting number. I want to believe that that the Patriots will win and that they will beat the Bills. It feels like one of those takes that I'm sort of wish casting it though. And that Buffalo is, as you point out, RJ, just a better team with a inferior coach, albeit one who is not bad. And I mean, the beating they put on New England, incredible game from Josh Allen in New England to basically take the division, just lingers in my mind. It's hard to get over that. I do think New England will keep it close enough where they'll cover, but it's not a best bet for me. I will, however, go full-blown contrarian here and take the over as a best bet. That number's ticked up. I think we see some explosive plays in the run game, and maybe some. I know it flies in the face of what you would expect, but if we were to believe that this is truly a really low scoring Pats Bills, January playoff game, that number should be 41, not 44. So I will take the over, but I would prefer, if you were betting it for putting a wager in purposes, to wait as long as possible, because I don't think it'll keep going up. I think it'll come down maybe on game day if we start seeing shots on the NFL Today about where we're seeing all these different cold scenarios, like heaters, like they're trotting out, they're doing like features on how freaking cold it is. That number will come down. So wait on that, I think.